Hey guys, and welcome. God of War Ragnarok's Valhalla DLC has been out for just over 24 hours now, and I've got to say, I am such a big fan. The story add-on to the base game is absolutely fantastic, and it hints towards the next God of War game in little teasers here and there, and potentially the mythology the story could be based within. However, today we're going to be talking a little bit more about the ending of this DLC, explaining it in a bit more detail, and how it could potentially point towards the next game's direction, and where we might see the future God of War franchise go. Be sure to check out the story explain video that I uploaded the same day. Today's been a pretty long day, so go check that out in the description down below if you want to go into more detail with that. I'll also link in the description down below all of the other God of War Ragnarok related lore and story videos that we've covered on the channel as well. There's like 40 plus in there, so go check them out and listen to your heart's content. But without further ado everyone, let's dive straight into the ending explained for God of War Ragnarok's Valhalla DLC. Before we dive into the ending though, I want to give a very brief recap of the overall story, just so we have some context building up to the ending of the game, in case you haven't already seen it and don't want to sit through a 40-minute video and watch it through. This will be a very brief recap of the story, so if you guys want a more in-depth recap of the story, check the story explain video in the description. The journey to Valhalla started with Kratos receiving a letter, one that was pinned to his door days before he arrived in Valhalla. No signature on the note, however, as to who it was from, just directions and some writing saying this.
Kratos of Sparta, you are hereby invited to a challenge. Face the past, face the future. Master Valhalla, master thyself. And then directions here. No signature.
Who else knows of this entrance?
Odin and us. It's likely a trap.
Kratos, however, needed to get away from Midgard. Freya was putting together something called a peace council. This would be a series of leaders that Freya would oversee that would ensure peace across all of the remaining realms. And Freya's asked Kratos to be the general, the God of War. Kratos, however, was battling with his inner self ever since this question was posed to him. Kratos has always had a problem when he thinks about his past. He thinks about his past as a God of War. Throughout the entirety of the God of War story, whether that's from 2018 through to Ragnarok, he would be very hesitant even to lead the army into battle like he did in Ragnarok. He was very hesitant to do so for the longest of times and only agreed to do it when it was the last resort. It was always throughout the story meant to be Tyr, but when we found out that Tyr was only an impersonation of Odin, plans changed pretty fast. Kratos didn't want his past to be brought back up into fruition. He didn't want any chance of his past life, the mistakes that he'd made, to be ones he'd make again, to risk any more innocent lives, and to turn back into the power-hungry monster that he once was. The story of Valhalla's DLC takes Kratos through 3 periods of his past, 3 stories that he'd go on to tell people that were all about his act of haste and potentially actions that could have ended in a more peaceful way, but obviously he chose the other way. The first was Kratos leading an army of warriors into battle against thousands of barbarians. The barbarians, however, were too much for the Greek soldiers that he was commanding, and would end up losing the battle if Kratos didn't take drastic measures to ensure that this didn't happen. Kratos pledged his soul to a god called Ares. He would be under his command from here on out, which would go on to kill thousands of innocent people across Greece, even going on to kill Kratos' wife and daughter in a village fire that Kratos caused. However, the reason it was caused, Ares instructed him to do so. Kratos, of course, didn't know his wife and daughter was in that fire or in that village at the time, but of course when he did find out, he was devastated. But without pledging his life to Ares, Greece as he knew it would have been completely gone, all innocents dead, and it would have been taken over by barbarians. The next was a sun god named Helios. Helios was beheaded by Kratos back in Greece a long time ago, as Kratos needed to use Helios' power to take down the Greek gods. There could have been other methods used to solve this problem, such as actually maybe talking to Helios and asking him for his help, but instead Kratos took the drastic measure to sever his head from his body. This caused many problems across Greece. The sun disappeared, causing crops to die, the sun to disappear completely, and the people to live in darkness. However, once he returned, so did the sun. Kratos would use Helios' chariot at that time to restore the sun in the sky, and would surely fall to his death in doing so, until Helios saved Kratos' life. However, even that didn't stop Kratos from cutting off Helios' head when he needed his powers. Kratos knew the consequence of killing Helios. The sun would disappear, Greece would be in forever darkness until the sun was put back into the sky. However, he did it to stop the Greek gods from killing any more innocent people, to set himself free, and to set Greece free. And finally, a statue. This represented a blacksmith story that Kratos would go on to tell. This one is the most important of all. This was a girl, one that reminded Kratos of his once daughter, described as a substitute daughter by Tyr. This girl was the key. This was the blacksmith story that Kratos would tell people in Midgard. The blacksmith died protecting a box. Because of what was inside of this box, the blacksmith had to guard it to prevent it from ever getting out. Kratos, however, was told by Athena that this box contained the answer to killing the Greek gods, so Kratos didn't have any other way about it. He needed to open this box and wouldn't stop until he did. However, when the box was opened, what was released, it pretty much turned all of the Greek gods crazy, and this girl, Pandora was her name, died because of it. She reminded Kratos of his daughter that was lost in a village fire, a fire that he caused on the command of Ares. Again, opening this box was Athena's plan, because Kratos thought that Athena was working with him. And Kratos, well, didn't know the consequences of opening the box at the time, else he probably wouldn't have done so. When the evils of the box was purged, what was left was hope, which Kratos chose to release back into the world. After everything, Kratos came back full circle and sacrificed himself. However, Kratos actually lived in doing this, so he tried to do it, but it didn't work out and he ended up living. And hope, well, it still lived on inside him and the people of Greece, because whatever happened, he took out the evil and he was still alive. Hope, fear, love, and hate exists in every single one of us. But the question is, which will Kratos let guide his actions? These were memories that Kratos would seek to remember, the times in his life where he experienced pain, but also memories where he carried out selfless acts for the greater good of Greece. Well, that was a brief recap of the story, everyone. I hope you guys enjoyed it, but for now, let's move on to the ending part of the story, where we'll also explain it after. Tyr was the reason that Kratos was in Valhalla. He was the one who sent the note, and he was the one that brought Kratos here. Tyr went through a similar thing when he was chosen to be god of war, leading his army into battle against Odin. He had difficulties and doubts about his past as well. Was he a good leader? How could he lead in a way that would prevent the same mistakes he made in his past? Tyr, however, found out exactly this through this very same journey, conquering his mental through Valhalla. Tyr aided Kratos through his journey until he was able to face his biggest fear, his past self. Kratos was able to comfortably accept that who he was is not who he is right now. The god he is today is not the god he was back then. The person he's staring at is completely different. This is not who Kratos is now. He's learnt and grown so much from when he was sat in that throne to the ending of Ragnarok to the ending of Valhalla. Kratos decides to accept the position as the god of war on the Peace Council after his journey through Valhalla and becoming at peace with who he really is. And Freya? Well, she was very happy to hear this decision. This will do Kratos the world of good going into the next God of War game. Look, does Kratos know how he will be when he leads an army again? No. Will he still have the same anger, relentlessness as he once did on the battlefield way back when in Greece when fighting the barbarians? Only time will tell. But judging how it went in Ragnarok, I think he'll be a very, very good leader. But Kratos now has hope. He's more than just a weapon. He's more than just a god of war. He's also now a god of hope. Throughout our interactions with Tyr, however, Santa Monica do a fantastic job hinting towards the next iteration of God of War, whether that's the following game or the mythology as to where we're going. Tyr on his travels picks up a series of outfits and different weapons that he battles and fights us with as we progress through Valhalla. Whether that's in Japan, whether that's a samurai era, whether that's in China, I am all for it. But Santa Monica are cooking something big, and I cannot wait to see what it is that they're working on. The next game will see the Peace Council in full force, Freya as the leader, Kratos as the god of war. We know this is the end of the Norse mythology saga, so there won't be any more Norse mythology games that are being released by Santa Monica relating to God of War. Also, do you think Atreus will have a small DLC for Ragnarok as well? Potentially, they'll release Kratos' one this year, Atreus' one next year, or maybe in a couple of months' time, and that will be the ending of Ragnarok completely, and then we'll be waiting for the next God of War game, maybe in a year or two. But, of course, let me know your thoughts and opinions, everyone, down below. But I really appreciate everyone watching this video. If you did go on to enjoy, please leave a like, it'd be very, very much appreciated. Subscribe to the channel as well for plenty more God of War related content coming in the next week or so. We have many different videos that I'm putting together relating to this DLC because there's so much to talk about relating to previous lore videos that I've done and new lore that's came to fruition with this DLC. But have a good day, everyone. We'll speak to you guys next time.